Hi, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Today I am doing my second video on Andy Weatherall. First video I ever did for this channel was Andy Weatherall. And now I'm going to bookend all of my videos, so to speak, and I'm holding a book right now for full pun effect with another Andy Weatherall video. I'm bookending my videos with Andy Weatherall videos. I wanted to start this channel by covering an artist that I deeply love and respect, and he had died that year. And it also occurred to me this week that today, February 17th, is the 4-year anniversary of his death, which is a weird sentence, but he's been gone for 4 years now. So, kind of strange that this brilliant man has been dead for 4 years, but there you go. He has been gone for that long. And I was thinking about it this week, and when I did my Weatherall video, and I'll link to that in this video. If you haven't seen my first Weatherall video, which was the first video I ever did here on this channel, I just talked about his music. I held up a bunch of records. It went on for a while. It's one of my longer videos. But I was still kind of getting my footing, understanding what I wanted to do with my videos. So it was a pretty long one. But also, he put out a lot of music, and a lot of it was long in itself. So there's a lot to talk about. But it dawned on me this week, I also have a lot of other stuff like magazines and newspaper clippings and clothing and posters. And just, I was a huge fan of this man. And I have a ton of his paraphernalia. And so without showing anything that I showed in my last video, I think I have a lot of stuff that I could show in this video. I'm just going to be showing basically a lot of magazine and newspaper articles and stuff. This video might be boring to a lot of you, but you Weatherall fans out there, I think you'll appreciate this. At least I hope you do. So anyway, I'll get right to it. And he's had some posthumous releases since his death too. And so I thought I'd show a couple of those. Record wise, I mean, I'm not going to show a lot of records, just a couple. Most of it will be magazine and newspaper articles that I pulled out of my archive. I didn't pull everything out. I was able to find a lot of stuff, and I know I have more stuff. I couldn't find some of it, and some of it I just didn't pull out. I just didn't want to be sitting here for too long. But I thought I'd pull out some of his articles and maybe quote some stuff. And I don't know, just a little tribute to the man, the myth, the legend, and now the dead guy, Andy Weatherall. But his music lives on, and that's the important part. This came out 3 or 4 years ago. Jockey Slut put this out, or they're now called Disco Pogo. I mean, that's what they called themselves. Let me adjust my mic here. That's what they're calling themselves now. Their tagline back in the day was Disco Pogo for punks and pumps, and now they just call themselves Disco Pogo. And they put out a couple of issues a year, I think now. I don't have any of the new issues, but I think twice a year they put out like a 200-page thing. I should check that out actually, because Jockey Slut to this day is my favorite music magazine of all time. But they put this out. Basically, they compiled all of his Jockey Slut interviews, and it added up to this book. And it's kind of cool. I have a lot of those Jockey Sluts too, the original ones, and I'm going to show them here. But yeah, you get a lot of his interviews, get some photos, just kind of it looks at the expanse of his life in his interviews through Jockey Slut, pictures, and all the way from Sabres up through the Swordsman. It's all here. And I don't know how I don't know how easy this is to find anymore. It's been out for a couple of years, but I definitely had to pick it up. I needed to have this, so thought I'd start off the video with that. I'm also wearing here. I'll stand up so you can see it. My Toulon Swordsman hoodie. I bought this. Oh my God. This bubble image became a thing when they put out the Tiny Reminders album. So that's about when I bought this. I bought this in, I think, the year 2000. Here, I'll let you take a look at it. I don't know if you can see that very well, and it needs a washing. I haven't worn it in a long time. I used to wear it a lot, actually, and I just put it on, and it's just been buried in a drawer for a long time, and it kind of smells a little musty. So I'll definitely need to shower after this video. But hey, I'll put it on the line for you guys, man. I'll stink like moldy, mildewy gunk for you, my audience. And here's another shirt. I think I bought all this shit on the Buywire site. You old school Weatherall dance heads will maybe remember the Buywire site. I bought so many records from Buywire. Jesus. I mean, so many records. Lots of great stuff. And yeah, I've got clothing and autographed records from Weatherall, and I showed that record in my other video. If you're interested, you should go check that out. And then I bought this when they put out from the Double Gone Chapel album. They put this shirt out. I don't think I've ever even worn this or watched this. I don't think I ever had an intention to do so. I just didn't want to walk around the streets wearing a shirt that said Sex Beat on it. It's not really my thing. But I did think the shirt was kind of cool. And here it is in its untouched, unwashed glory. I never really wore any of the shirts, but I wore this. I was proud to wear the hoodie. Love this thing. Yeah, it does need a wash, but I'm proud to wear it. One of my several pieces of Weatherall clothing. There you go. Here's some records that have come out since his death. Heavenly, the label Heavenly has been putting out this remix series, Heavenly Remixes. I picked up all 8 of them so far. There are 8 of these. This one, I believe, is flowered up on here. Maybe not. No. It's on the next one. Yeah, this one's got some good stuff. It's got the Underworld remix of Cool Kids of Death. There's a Parrot and Cocker mix of Baxter Dury. I've actually never heard that. Parrot as in Richard Barrett, and Cocker as in Jarvis Cocker. A couple of Sheffield guys there doing a remix. They've been putting out this remix series. It's basically remixes that have been on the Heavenly label. And there it is. Yeah, these have been putting out. Oh wait, no, it's not on here. This is volume 2. They dedicated 2 releases to Weatherall himself. This is volume 3, but this is nothing but Weatherall mixes on here. And this came out a couple of years ago. I'm gonna turn on this light so I can get some light going here. Nothing but chock full of remixes, Weatherall style, and mixes that came out on Heavenly. You get Sly and Love Child, which I think is one of his best mixes. I love that mix. It's got Flowered Up Weekender. The longer version is on this one. Saint Etienne, Only Love Can Break Your Heart. Espiritu Conquistador, the mix number 3. They did 3 remixes of that. I would recommend picking up the 12 inches of these because you get more versions. Weatherall was always busily creating multiple remixes for artists back then in the 90s. He just was always doing stuff. And this is volume 2. It says 4. This is just 4 in the series, but this is the second Weatherall collection, as you can see. Heavenly Andrew Weatherall, volume 2. And again, you get nothing but Weatherall mixes here. You get another Espiritu mix, the one he did of Bonita Manana. You get Confidence Man, which is Confidence Man. Are they that popular? I mean, I think they're okay, but like every one of these Heavenly compilations has a Confidence Man track or remix. It's full of Confidence Man. You get Heart Failed in the Back of a Taxi from Saint Etienne, the Two Lone Swordsman mix. Chock full of Weatherall stuff. And one of these other volumes, is it 5? Here's 5. Actually, no, I think it's 6. Is it 6? Yeah. 6 has the other mix of Flowered Up Weekender, the Weatherall mix, which is absolutely worth having. They both are. So I would pick up all 8 volumes of these. I'm not going to show them all, but Heavenly has done 8 of those, and I think it's worth picking up. So this might bore a lot of you, even Weatherall fans, but I'm just going to go through some magazines that I was able to pull out for this purposes of this video. I like records. I've hung on to all my music magazines from the 90s and even up through the 2000s. I stopped buying them a little bit in the 2000s because everyone was starting to switch over to the websites and internet, and I just stopped buying magazines. But throughout the 90s, I have a huge collection library of music magazines, and I've hung on to all of them. I've kept them all in pretty good shape, and I have, Weatherall was never afraid to be interviewed. And here's one to start off with. This is Music Magazine. I don't know if you remember this, and I don't know if they're even around anymore. This was an interesting issue too, because these two. See, this is why I like keeping these, because it's history. It reminds me of history. People get history wrong, especially on the internet. People remember things wrong. As you get older, you start to remember things in a way that makes more sense to you, but that doesn't mean that it's the truth. We get older, our minds become smaller, and we don't remember things exactly the way they happened. And that's why I like to have these just as a reference. And these two had a feud, Goldie and Keith Flint. They hated each other for a few years. And this issue kind of brought them together, and they were getting along. And it's interesting, in this interview they are getting along, but they still are kind of, there's still some tension there. It's a really fascinating interview. If you can find this somewhere. I know magazines are not easy to find now, especially from the 90s. The vast majority of these have been thrown out or used as garbage liner or recycled. But if you can find this is a really good issue. Goldie and Keith. This was a good magazine for the most part. They focused on a lot of over the top, more popular music, but this does have an Andy Weatherall feature. And I think he reviews the singles. I loved it when they had artists review singles. I thought it was so cool to get people's opinions. And here it is. Andy Weatherall, guest reviewer. And yeah, they went through the records of the month, and he had things to say about them. I wish my light was better in here. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I'm going to be glowing in this video, but whatever. It is what it is. So, one of the singles that came out this week, back in 1996, was Meat Beat Manifesto's It's the Music. And what did he say about this? This is what Weatherall said about it at the time. I like them, but they're not a major influence. He also remixed them. He remixed Psych Out, if you remember. This is a whole lot better than I thought it would be. Deeper, really, really good. It sounds a bit like when I play lots of drum and bass records at 33 to turn them into Detroity sounding Carl Craig funk tracks. That's fair. This is going to be dragged out and played in my wrong speed drum and bass set. He's not wrong about that. It's the music. That's not my favorite Meat Beat track. It is good, but not my favorite. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. Let's see. The other singles he's talking about: Danny Breaks, okay, Small Fish with Spine, Ned Flanders. Ned Flanders, wasn't that Darren Emerson from Underworld, right? Does it say that here? Yeah, it's on Emerson's label, which was Underwater. But I think that's Darren Emerson himself. One of his pseudonyms was Ned Flanders. Amalgamation of Sounds, Dr. Dub, Moving Melodies, Floppy Sounds, Norman and Krista. I haven't heard of most of these. Propeller Heads, Take California. Now this is what I love about him. He gave Single of the Month to Presence. And if those of you who don't know, Presence is Charles Webster. It's one of his pseudonyms. I think this was called Unreleased Stuff, right? Unreleased Stuff, volumes 1 and 2. I have this release. It's brilliant. Charles Webster is responsible for one of my all-time favorite electronic albums. It's called Born on the 24th of July. Maybe I'll do a video on that at some point. It makes me happy to see that that Weatherall picked Charles Webster here. And I do remember this. This was just a magic time, man, to be into electronic music. It was just awesome. This is what Weatherall said about it. Now, this is a Blood Sugar sort of record. Blood Sugar was his club, and he recorded as Blood Sugar on a couple records. It's a house record, but it just seems like the production of house records has got better without being overproduced. Couldn't agree more. I got to be honest with you. I've got more British house records in my box than American ones. The reason I love tracks like this is that not only can I play it out, I can also roll up a large one and play it at home. Excites me like no other music has for years. This is good, solid, sexy electronic music. It's got a depth which is missing in a lot of other music. You just have to have patience. Absolutely. To me, 4 hours of seamlessly mixed music like this is trance music, not some fucking tosh with a 10-minute snare roll and a 14-minute breakdown. Killer, I've got to get this. Yeah. One of the reasons I love Weatherall too. He just had a way with words. He broke shit down exactly how I felt about stuff. This is a brilliant record. One of the reasons I love keeping these around. Go to the next one. Now, see, now this is a classic. Select. You guys remember Select? I think I still have this tape too. I remember Bill Hicks was on this. You got Pet Shop Boys on the cover. You got Andy Weatherall up here. I mean, come on. I can remember seeing these magazines in the bookstore. I'd go to Tower Records, and they just would have all these magazines splayed out. And I would see this. I'd see Pet Shop Boys and Weatherall on a free tape with Bill Hicks. I was like, Jesus, this is like heaven. It doesn't get any better than this. But I remember this. You see, got a Cocteau Twins story. Man, music really, really mattered, man, in the 90s. It just was really important stuff. And I remember in this issue, I'm pretty sure they talk about Weatherall's remixing. And they cover some of his remixes, if I could find it. Here we go. An audience with Lord Saber. There he is. And he provides a little bit of commentary on his own remixes and his own releases. And this came out in 93, so this is when his label Sabers of Paradise was in full effect. Right in the middle of that. And he talks about some of his remixes. Let's see. They talk about Flowered Up, Galliano, Holy Ghost, Jaw Wobble, James, New Order, One Dove, Primal Scream, Saint Etienne, Stereo MCs, The Orb. Again, go watch my other Weatherall video. I talk about all that shit. I hold all of it up. I sit there for over an hour like a dope showing records. Those of you who like it when I show records, you should go check that out. Here's a question I asked him. Who is this Lord Saber anyway? Is this a story or an interview? Let's see. Okay, it starts off. Here we go. Some say you're a mere nutty drug fiend, Jack the Lad. I'd have said yes about 3 or 4 years ago, totally, but not now. I was vehemently anti-drugs when I was 18, and then someone gave me some speed, and I went completely the other way. But that's like getting on at the bottom rung of the ladder. You end up doing ecstasy and acid, and that's as far as it goes unless you start getting really fucking ridiculous. Another thing about Weatherall is how funny he was, man. Every time I read an interview with him, he just was naturally, inherently funny. He always had something really amusing to say. Let's see. What's the best thing you've ever done? Playing one of your own tunes or mixes to a crowd and seeing mass hysteria break out is a pretty good feeling. It's the nearest I'm going to get to putting a foot on the monitor and blasting out a power chord. You see? Way with words, man. He had a way with words. Who have you told to fuck off when they've asked for a remix? I haven't told anyone to fuck off. I've always just told them I'm busy. There you go. Are you any good with a sword? That's a stupid. Let's see. Let's look better. I'm trying to find a good question. But yeah, interviewers aren't great with questions, at least back then. What's your favorite tattoo? Yeah, well, anyway, none of these questions are very interesting. There's page 2, though. Try to find this. You got Pet Shop Boys, too, on the cover. And this is their best album this period, Very. It's just a great time. Great time for music. Okay, see, I'm pulling a lot of these out, and I haven't looked at these in a long time. Let's see, this is from July of 2000. DJ Magazine. You remember this? DJ Magazine. These guys for me were better in the 90s, like early 90s, and then they got more, I don't know. They got more and more boring, I thought. When they first started, they were more like a God, they were more like a chart magazine. They talked to a lot of DJs and they figure out what their charts were. And we would learn what they were playing, which was cool. You got to understand why the DJs were playing what they were playing and what they were playing. They would talk about why they wanted to play it. Here's the Andy Weatherall spread. Kind of cool. Yeah, he wasn't just doing jockey sled interviews, y'all. He was all over the place. He was talking to everybody. He never shied away from an interview. Let's see, 2000. This was deep into his Two Lone Swordsmen stuff. This was right on the verge of him releasing Tiny Reminders. It was the summer of 2000. Let's see. What still excites you musically? Everything. What can I say? Last week I went to Select Disc and bought the new Pink CD. Okay. An old John Cale album and the new Steve Earle album. Then the next day I went in flying and bought some really wicked new house records. When I was a lot younger, I didn't listen to enough black music as I should have done or could have done. So I'm catching up on a lot of funk and soul music. The more black music you listen to, the more you learn about groove and funk. It sounds silly, but that's the way it is. I listen to a lot less rock-oriented music now. That's bound to affect everything I do in the studio. DJ Magazine. What's the next one we got here? Okay, so here we go with the Slut. Those of us who bought this and subscribed to this and worship this magazine, we called it the Slut. At least me and my friends did. It wasn't Jockey Slut, it was just the Slut. The new Slut's out. Ronnie Size on the cover. This is from, when's this? September of 2000. So this is right when Tiny Reminders came out. And I'm wondering, you see the title there, puts Electro to the sword. Man, Tiny Reminders, what a great fucking album. Am I wrong? I mean, totally unexpected at the time too. I mean, they'd been doing some electro stuff, but yeah, this is a great interview. He and Keith Tenniswood keep it real. Talk about that new album. Let's see. Here they are. Here's some more. Yeah, it was always very, very exciting for me to see a new a Weatherall interview. Here we go. Weatherall and Tenniswood's top 5 Two Lone Swordsman moments. Swimming, not skimming. Yeah, that's an awesome record. I think this was the first time we realized that we were beginning to get our sound together. We'd experimented loads, but that was the first time that it really worked properly. The birth of the sound we have now is in that album. Yeah, I can see that. That is a great album too. That wasn't well loved back then either. I remember people weren't really into that. This was the era too that I got this hoodie too. That's where this Bubble Man logo started popping up. A Virus was Fused. God, what a great record that is, man. A skunked out haze of listening to a lot of hip hop. A kind of combination of those two things together. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Like a like a couple of guys who were super stoned listening to hip hop and jazz too. It's a very jazzy record, that one, I think. Spiritualized Come Together remix they did. We'd got into the pattern of doing really short tracks for a couple of years, and one weekend I've been listening to a load of krautrock, and some of those tracks go on for 20 minutes. So we thought, fuck it, let's do a 15-minute self-indulgent rock out. I'm glad they did too, because that's one of their greatest remixes, that Spiritualized mix. Anyway, the Slut. But that's not it. I have more Slut. Always more Slut. Here's one with the Robots, Daft Punk. I mean, when you bought a copy of the Slut, it was chock full of good stuff. I have an an older issue of Jockey Slut. Daft Punk's on the cover, and they're not dressed up as robots. It's the only time to this day, it's the only time I've ever seen them together do an interview not as the Robots. So it's kind of an interesting interview. They're on the cover and they're showing their faces. I mean, how often do you see these two without their robot gear on? The only time I ever remember seeing it was on the cover of Jockey Slut. And that one came out, I want to say, in the mid 90s. They had just started to put out stuff on the Soma label. But anyway, yeah, you'd see this magazine, you just see all these artists that you liked, and it was cool. It was fun. March of 2001. Oh, Two Lone Swordsmen Slag Dance Music. This is the one where they review singles. I remember that that James Lavelle Slam record came out. What was it called? Narco Tourist? Is that what it was? Narco Tourist? It was horrible. It was a terrible record. You would think those two guys getting together would be fucking awesome, but it was not a good record. And these guys say so. They don't hold back. It was pretty cool. Um, Here you go. Here's this, and they were blindfolded too. They didn't get to know what they were listening to. That was part of the fun of this. They just were listening to stuff and had to, give their honest opinions, not knowing who it was. Um, let's see. Simon, Free at Last. I don't know. Inner City meets E Dancer. I I mean, I know who Inner City is, but I don't remember that one. Jakarta, American Booty, Afro Not, Transcend Me. Yeah, a lot of this shit I'd never heard of. Slam versus Uncle. This is what Weatherall and Tennis would say. Rave rock. I thought it was going to get much more offensive than it did. Thought it was going for the full Fat Boy Slim snare rolls and stuff. I think the beat's really strong, but everything on top was a bit lame. That was Tenniswood. This is Weatherall. I heartily concur with Brother Tenniswood. I don't know whether this is what the young people call progressive house, but it sounds like a B-side of a Gorilla tune from about 10 years ago. There's nothing wrong with dated sounding music if it's timeless at the same time. But that's just dated, and it takes me back to a time of playing records I really wish I hadn't played. With all the technology at your disposal, the flick of a few buttons, and you could turn that average guitar sample into something ridiculous. No effort's been made. The kick's nice in that. Jockey Slut says, it's Slam and Uncle. Weatherall says, right. Well, that's exceedingly disappointing. All the people involved in that record have got enough knowledge in their pantheon. That's the first thing I don't like from Slam in however many years. Again, watch it shoot up the charts. Jockey Slut says, do you think it's a curious pairing? Weatherall says, no, I'm not going to say why on tape, though. I couldn't agree more. I love Slam, everything they did. And then I heard that, and it was like, wow, really? Not a good track. Anyway, Jockey Slut, Daft Punk, Weatherall. There you go. Pull something out here. What do we got here? Another slut, Sasha on the cover. Not a big fan of this guy's music, but I will say one of the best DJs I've ever seen. Technically, what the guy could do mix wise was really impressive. He was kind of a marvel in that way. There's Weatherall right there, the table of contents. Yeah, the slut really talked to him a lot. What's the date on this, by the way? June of 2000. So he was busy talking to Jockey Slut in the year 2000. Let's see, page 60 he's on. Let's see what this is. Here we go, all by himself. Oh, this was a good one too. He's talking about the music he was listening to at the time, and he was listening to a lot of whatever post-punk, new wave, 80s electro type pop stuff. I remember he's talking about Color Box here, I think. Yeah, 23 Skidoo, Quando Quango, Color Box, Funky Alternatives. You can see the records up here. Yeah, he's just talking about music he was into at this point. This was around the time he released that compilation too. It was called 9 o'clock Drop, I think. 9 o'clock Drop, right? Which is a great compilation. Here he's talking about Color Box. Looks like we're shy one horse. This was a huge record for me. It was the B-side of Baby I Love You So. Color Box went on to form Mars, who did Pump Up the Volume with that guy out of AR Kane. AR Kane didn't stand the test of time. Yeah, anyway, he talks about each band and record and single that he's got held up here. A slut. But wait, there's more slut. Remember this kid? They tried really hard to break him in the United States, but we just kind of laughed him out of town. One of those guys that was only relevant in the UK, I think. This was one of the last issues too. I remember this was the last one. Yeah, summer of 2004. This was right when Jockey Slut started getting ready to move on and not produce their magazine anymore. More Weatherall, hanging out. I remember there. Excuse me. I remember there being some classic quotes in this one. Excuse me, Jesus. You don't have an iPod then? Yeah, I love them. I've got a red one and a green one. No, I don't. I do not. I do not possess one. Okay. Do you ever wonder where you would be if you had taken the superstar DJ route, a la Paul Oakenfold and Norman Cook? He laughs. I'd be desperately unhappy with an even bigger cocaine habit than I've got at the moment. Hard to know when he was ever joking or being serious, but it doesn't matter. It was entertaining. Now here we are going back to October of '93. You know what? You need to hang with me for a minute. I'm getting warm. I'm taking off my Two Lone Swordsman hoodie because I am too fucking warm right now. And well, no, I was gonna say something, but I'm gonna hold back. Excuse me while I take this off. Ugh. This is exciting, isn't it? Exactly what you're looking for today. You were I know. You were just waiting for this. Where can I go on YouTube and watch some graying bastard hold up magazines for an hour? You found it. And who said you can't find everything on YouTube? All right. DJ. This was a good magazine. This is back when they were cool. I think they went a little too big time. They got a little too big for their britches as things progressed into the 2000s. But here in the early '93 period, he has some Weatherall, and this was a really good interview, as I remember. This was a really cool magazine too. I learned a lot about music I wouldn't have known about otherwise from DJ. Let me find. Here we go. Looking pretty rough there. Yeah. Like he's choking on a cigarette right there. Let's see. What can I say? I play music that moves my soul. The Sex Pistols were a soul band. I think the Clash were a soul band. People think if music isn't made by musicians, it's got no soul. I could play you electronic music that makes me want to cry. Yeah, a bygone era. I love hanging on to shit like this, though. It's really fun for me. Oh, now see, this is my all-time favorite Andy Weatherall interview because this was the time that um, the Fifth Mission came out, Return to the Flight Path Estate, and it's The Wire. The Wire didn't put artists like this on their cover very often. This was more of an avant-garde magazine. I don't know, is it still around? I don't know if The Wire's still around, but I remember being very excited to pick this up and read this, and I was not disappointed. And Return of the Flight Path Estate is also one of my favorite, arguably my favorite album from Weatherall. So this was always my favorite for sure. And also, it's fun to kind of leaf through these magazines because then you see these other interviews with like Jack Dangers of Meat Beat Manifesto. I mean, come on. You got features on both Andy Weatherall and Jack Dangers. Look at this. I mean, man, I could not put my money down fast enough to buy this shit. Here we go. Again, I know these magazines probably aren't very easy to find, but if you can somehow find this, I would highly recommend picking it up. It's an excellent interview. Weatherall is very funny and self-deprecating. Here he is holding up his blood sugar release. This EP is called Levels, by the way. It's really good. It's like some minimal. I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's minimal techno house music. Oh, the way only Weatherall could do it. That was him and Hedger. Is it David Hedger or is it Harrow? Harrow Hedger. One of those guys. I'm sorry, I can't remember which one at this point. I would have remembered 20 years ago. I can't. It's been a while. Excellent interview. And yeah, you get Meat Beat in here too. You get Jack Dangers and Andy Weatherall, two of the finest producers ever, all under all under one roof there. Okay, I don't know why. I think I brought this by accident. I don't think Weatherall's in this. This is like from 2006, I think. Yeah, you got Goldfrapp on the cover, looking hot. You got a Richie Houghton CD, but I don't think Weatherall's in that one. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Oh yeah, okay. So this is September 2000. We're getting into the papers now. NME showing tremendously bad taste by putting this massive douchebag on the cover. What was his name? Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit. The fuck? Really, NME? Jesus. Give me a break. Were English people really that interested in fucking Fred Durst? Really? Jesus. Embarrassing. Um, yeah, it's fun. It's really fun going through the papers like NME and Melody Maker, seeing all the commercials and the ads for other stuff that was coming out. This is a really good interview. This is right when Tiny Reminders came out, so this is a Tiny Reminders interview. You can see there he is with Tenniswood. Excellent interview. I remember I was slightly pained picking this up because of the cover, but I think I subscribe to it still too. I subscribed to the NME and the Melody Maker all through the '90s, so I have every issue. Um, this one I remember. This is Sabres of Paradise. When's this from? June of '94. This is just a review of a live show. You got Liam Gallagher on the cover. I think this is slightly before that whole Britpop war started between Oasis and Blur. Those of us who didn't give a single fuck about that. I actually I liked Oasis a little bit back then. Their first couple records I thought were pretty good. I've never been much of a Blur fan, but I remember being massively bored with that whole thing. September 24th, 1994. Does anyone remember these guys? Suede. I'm trying to forget them personally. Yikes. Oof. No thanks. You can keep your Suede. Check out the back cover though. Look at this full page advert for Pop Will Eat Itself, Dos Dedos Mis Amigos. You PWEI fans, check this out. This is why I love hanging out with these things. It's just fun. Takes you back. Takes you back to this time where these albums have been kind of forgotten, I think. But this has got a really good Sabres of Paradise. Or really interesting, I should say. Sabres of Paradise. There's a Cramps ad. Sabres of Paradise interview. Yeah, I'm just looking through here. There's an ad for the Cramps. I love the Cramps, and an ad for Ride. Primal Scream and Blur. This was when Primal Scream released that Give Out But Don't Give Up, though. That was a shit album. And it's still shit. It really is. Now, see, okay, this is what I'm talking about. Check this out. They're reviewing the singles here. You see this? Single of the week, DJ Shadow. Look over here. Aphex Twin, Analog Bubble Bath 4, and Autechre Anti-EP. Those came out the same fucking week. Do you understand what I'm saying? This was an exciting time to be alive and being a DJ and listening to music. You couldn't keep up. There's so much good stuff coming out. It was fucking ridiculous, man. Um, oh, you guys wonder why I have so many records. I mean, how else was I going to hear this music? I had to. I had to have these records. Here's a review for Massive Attack, Protection. This album was coming out. See that? All the time. Brilliant classic music. And we knew it at the time. This wasn't music that's all of a sudden just been discovered in the last decade. We knew this shit was classic. We knew. We listened to this stuff all the time. I mean, our whole lives were music. We couldn't get enough of this stuff. Um, and I have no idea where the Sabres of Paradise is. Let's see. This was a really cool section too, and I read this. I read every word of this. NME had a club culture section here, and I learned about a lot of stuff I would never have otherwise heard of, like Quasar Sunflower. I remember that had Carl Hyde on the vocals. Aphex Twin. Yeah, it was just NME was cool to me. I know they're a joke now, but here we go. Oh yeah, this one. Okay. See, now this is an interview I'm sure Weatherall would have liked to have forgotten, him standing there with his shirt off. I remember he was in a very bad mood during this interview too. And the interview is all the more entertaining for it. Let me see if I can. I have to ask, what does the co-producer of Screamadelica think of the latest Primal Scream album? They're talking about Give Out But Don't Give Up. He laughs. I'd love to see the inside of his head right now. I picture little, okay, blah, 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 blah. This is what I never liked about NME. Like they would interview people, but 3/4 of the feature would be the writer just pontificating. The quotes from the actual artists they were interviewing were few and far between. So you always got this feeling of like, can you interview this person, please? I've had enough of your pontificating here. But anyway, he asked him what he thought of Give Out But Don't Give Up. When I heard it in the proper circumstances very early in the morning while extremely wasted, it's fucking excellent. People analyze the parts of Primal Scream and don't listen to the whole. And then the interview says, and how much credit does he take for Screamadelica? Weatherall says, no more credit than anyone else who was involved with it. I don't want to analyze it, and I can't analyze it. It was just the sound of people hanging out, having the best time of their lives, then going into the studio without a fucking care about anything else that was going on, and trying to put it all down on a record. It's not something you can capture that often. Anyway, there's that. Oh, but I have more. I'm not done yet. April 94. Look at this. Nick Cave on the cover. Come on. Come on. The Other Man. Nick Cave and Andy Weatherall in the same fucking issue? Are you kidding me? Come on. Let's see. Where is Weatherall? Let's see what's on the back. Oh, here we go. There's your full page ad for Give Out But Don't Give Up. The memories. Memories. Let's see. Where is Weatherall? What do we got here? Vibes. See, now this. Oh my God. Yeah. This, I love this section. Vibes. Electronic stuff. There's an ad for Theme, the Sabres of Paradise. Awesome stuff. What do we got here? Oh, Igbam Yassi, yeah. Aphex Twin. This was their top 10 of this week. Aphex Twin Selected Ambient Works Volume 2, of course. Let's see what else we got. Adam Hart, Orange, Music, Bluff Limbo, Higher Intelligence Agency, Speed Learn, The Seventh Plane, The Four Cornered Room. Oh my God. What a great album. Guys, go listen to The Seventh Plane. Seriously. Absolutely brilliant. Brilliant stuff. Talk about underappreciated and underrated. Jesus. Brilliant album. Here are the vibe singles of the week. Beaumont Hannant, Tastes and Textures. Let's see what else we got here. Well, that's the only big one. Yeah. Anyway, NME was very fun to read, and I learned a lot about music from reading this paper. So let's see, where's Weatherall? Where is that bastard at? Here he is. Oh, here you go. Let me hold this up. And you get Nick Cave on the opposite page, so there you go. If I can hold it up. I wouldn't count on it. There he is, sitting out by a cactus. And Nick Cave on the other end. Real men doing real man things. Let's see. Heroes: David Bowie, the Royal Windsor Boot Boys, The Clash, Singers That Lived It, Adrian Sherwood. Villains: David Bowie. Kelvin McKenzie, The City, Organized Religion. Why did he put David Bowie's heroes and villains? This is what he says under the villains column. As Patrick Fitzgerald, the top punk poet, once wrote, "Don't ask me to be your hero, I will only let you down." And how prophetic he was. Not that Mr. Fitzgerald was my or anybody's hero, but generally speaking, unless they die, heroes will eventually let you down. What evidence do I have to back this up with? Exhibit A. Maled, a selection of all Mr. Bowie's releases after Heroes. Exhibition B, Maled, photographs of Mr. Bowie with Bert from Suede. Oh, yeah. Okay, now see, that's why Weatherall was great. It took me a second there, but I do remember those photos now. Yeah, Heroes will let you down. Although I don't know. Well, I will say Weatherall's music in his last decade did let me down a little bit. What I loved about Weatherall so much is he changed. Like, he'd be rolling with Sabres of Paradise, and then he'd just halt it, and then go over to Two-Lone Swordsman, and then halt that, and then go do something else. And that's what I liked about him. But that whole disco thing he was doing toward the end of his life got kind of tired for me. This is September of 2000. Slipknot. I'm guessing maybe this must have been the review for Tiny Reminders. I don't remember him doing an interview in this one. Let me look. Pink. Yeah, this is when Pink was really popular. God, she was terrible, man. Oh, here we go. It was a live show. There's Keith Tennis. Or is that Keith Tennis? It must be. Anyway, NME was good and bad for Weatherall. Okay, now see, this is what I'm talking about. I think my boner popped right through my pants when I saw this at the newsstand and bought it or got it in my mailbox. I think I was subscribing. I was subscribing by now. Yeah, I was. October 30th, 1993. Look at this. The orb is on the cover. The cover. And you got the sabers. You got the grid. God, this was a fun time for music, man. They put the fucking orb on the fucking cover. You gotta love that. There's a Pop Eat Itself ad. Oh, this is a really good interview too. I remember Weatherall being in a bad mood here too. He was in a bad mood a lot in the early '90s. Sorry, here, I'm doing my best here. Come here, you fucker. Can you see that? There you go. What do we got here? Anyone ever hate the end product? A jazz buff from a magazine thought the Galliano remix was unlistenable. That's good. Exciting music's always upset the purists. But as the years have progressed, I think people have realized that I'm not trying to rip off their music, that I'm just trying to make something new, to take it one step further. Yeah, his remixes of Galliano aren't the greatest. I never loved those. My background is rock and roll. The Clash are still the best band in the world. Yeah, he loved the Clash, man. He couldn't stop talking about the Clash. And who can blame him? You got a Fluke interview right here. Got some Fluke. I've done a Fluke video before. Again, this is why I love hanging on to this stuff. It's just fun to relive this stuff. You get an advertisement for the Sound System single from Drum Club. There's a amazing Underworld remix on this if you've never heard it. Go seek this out if you've never heard that. One of Underworld's better mixes. But yeah, Fluke. Here's Vibes. Who are they talking about here? Oh, now see, I love this. You know, I hope Ashley from Cone Melt. I hope you're watching this. Ashley, where are you, baby? Check this out. Cone Melt. Vibes are talking about them. This is Ashley right here back in 1993. I interviewed this guy last year. Hell of a nice guy, and his music's brilliant. See, this makes my heart feel all warm and fuzzy. This is what I was looking at when I was a kid. These guys were my idols. So the fact that I'm able to do this YouTube channel and actually speak to these guys, it just means the world to me, man. I love it. Look at these adverts. I mean, you got Feed Your Head comp down here. You got the Dread Zone 360 album ad right there. These are really good. This is a great compilation. This is a great album. Honestly, this is just my opinion. This is the only good Dread Zone album, in my opinion. The first one came out on Creation Records. That's right, Creation Records. The same Creation that had My Bloody Valentine and everything else. What else we got here? They're talking about Underworld and Black Dog and Savers of Paradise and Fluke and The Aloof and all kinds of people that I've already talked about on this channel. We have Future Sound of London. Yeah, I mean, just all kinds of amazing stuff happening here. Let me keep going through this. What were we looking for? See, I wanted to show this because I've talked about the orb before too. Check this out. There they are. And the greatest era of the orb, in my humble opinion, right here, man. The UF orb. That orb. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know, it feels like I wanted to show. Was it this one? I know half of you are asleep right now, but I don't give a fuck. I'm going to keep going through here. I feel like I wanted to show you guys. Where the heck is it? One of these NMEs, I'm almost positive, they did an interview with, maybe it was Melody Maker. Is it? No, it was this one. Here it is. I'm going back to this, the Oasis. I just mentioned Future Sound of London, and it just occurred to me. Oh, God, see, look at. You open it up, first page, you get Julian Cope. That crazy, goofy bastard. Look at him. God, I love that guy. Julian Cope, man. How fucking awesome is he? By the way, he did a record with Andy Weatherall, too. You should check that out. It's actually really good. There is a Future Sound of London. Now, see, again, my heart's getting all warm and fuzzy. Thomas Fellman. Again, I was looking at this when I was 20 years old and idolizing this guy, and I ended up interviewing him. When I worked at Discogs, I talked to this guy. So it's just one of those things where life, you realize the world is a small place. You know, I'm reading about these people, idolizing them when I'm a kid, and then all of a sudden, 20 years later, I'm interviewing them. It's just crazy. The world's crazy. Artificial intelligence ad. Good times, man. I'm glad I found these today. I'm glad I was here it is. Here it is. This is what I wanted to show you. If I can hold it up. Damn these old papers. Future Sound of London. Look at that picture. Apparently boffin. By the way, these guys are back. They have ditched that shitty fucking psychedelic bullshit music, and they are going back to their roots. In fact, I just bought a new stack of records. I'm going to go completely off the beaten path here. I just got this from Juno. Pulse 5. They have a new Pulse record out, man. These guys are going back to their roots. These Pulse records are awesome. In fact, the Pulse records made up their first album, Accelerator. They just picked little bits and pieces from those EPs and plastered it all onto an album. That's what that is. Let me check this. Good. I want to make sure my mic is still going strong because it dies on me, and I don't know when it dies on me. But Pulse 5, come on. Future Sound and London are back to their roots. Anyway, I wanted to show that to you because I thought it was fun. Future Sound of London, you gotta love it. Again, I don't care if you're asleep. I got a few more here. Oh man, why did I have this? Oh, there's a CD. Well, here you go. There's Richard Ashcroft on the cover. The Verve, June 2000. I think I kept this because I have a CD. It's not attached here anymore. I pulled it off, but yeah. Richard Ashcroft, always good for an interview. I like the Verve. Call me crazy. I like them. December, and I like their last album, Fourth. It got some really bad reviews, but I don't know. I liked it. That was fine. NME, December 1994. Anytime you have Noel Gallagher on the cover is a good cover. Come on, you fucker. And this was the Elastica chick, right? Does anyone remember like when they sampled Wire and she said that they asked her what Wire thought of her sampling them, and she goes, "Oh, they loved it. They totally support it." And then a week later, Colin Newman was quoted as saying, "I just wanted to publicly say, no, we're not okay with it. We don't like Elastica. It's fine that they sample us. We're not against that, but we don't like their music, and we're not a fan of theirs, like she said we are." That made me love Colin Newman even more. Colin Newman was like, "Well, we'd be hypocritical bastards if we said we didn't appreciate someone sampling us because we sample people too. But don't say we like your music because we don't." You gotta love Wire. Real men of their word. Depth Charge. There's a future video coming there too, man. I love J. Saul Kane. Depth Charge. He's heading up the Vibes section this week. Man, Depth Charge was another one of those guys. I bought anything with his name on it. Yeah, see, they're reviewing the singles here. You have Jedi Knights, their first single, the Moody Boys. I mean, come on. What do we got here? Vibes. Got more Vibes. Kenny Larkin. It's a never-ending parade of brilliant music. This this is the reason to have this. You've got these four people reviewing the singles of the year. Jarvis Cocker, the chick from Elastica, Noel Gallagher, and that dude from Therapy. I don't remember his name, but I mean, Jarvis and Noel Gallagher are in there together. You gotta love that. They talk about Hole. They talk about the Stone Roses, Cranberry. Okay, let's see what they said about the Stone Roses. Love Spreads. Andy. Okay, that must be the dude from Therapy, I'm guessing. Andy, I love it. It's like Beefheart's Clear Spot. Noel says, "We heard it months ago at Glastonbury and it didn't sound anything like that, but yeah, I like it. But then again, it's got to be good after 5 years, isn't it? It's a long, long fucking time. Nothing should take 5 years to record. You know, like what the fuck is there to do for 5 years in a fucking studio?" God, I love Noel. I could listen to Noel talk and read interviews with him all fucking day. Justine, I'm not that keen on it. I think the guitar sounds really good, but I think his voice sounds really dreary. Yeah. Liam or Noel says, "No, me, I like it. I just think it's a shame they're all Man United fans." See there? Always with the joke. Jarvis Cocker, "Well, a baby only takes 9 months. 5 years does seem a little long in that light. Don't you think it makes people listen to it differently when you think it's taken 5 years? It's not as if people have been sitting around waiting for the new Stone Roses single going, fucking hell, my life can't start till then. But you do listen to it differently than if you just heard it on the radio and it were by Dog Breath. It would be quite good to dance to. I like the singing because if you had a David Coverdale type voice, it would sound daft." So, I know, they're just fucking funny. It goes on for 4 pages. Primal Scream rocks. How are your rocks, Jarvis? Still situated right where they were at the start of that song, thank you. They've not gone off anywhere. I suppose Primal Scream have provided people with quite a lot of entertainment this year. Everybody loved to slag them off because of the album and that single in particular. I guess it's just that thing where you like music from another time and maybe you've been influenced by it and you want to recreate it, but maybe you shouldn't go as far as to go to get the same producers as the ones around then. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with them. Because time moves on. I mean, Jimmy Miller. You might listen to an ABBA record and think it's good, but you don't go get Benny Anderson to produce it. Yeah. When we went to Sweden, we discovered that the last album he recorded was an album of birdsong from his garden. So he's obviously off his head. You certainly don't get him in, even if you want to sound like ABBA. Anyway, fun. And then in the middle, you turn the page and you get a full Sabres spread. Andy Weatherall. More, more, more. And it seemed like all of his NME interviews, he was in a pissy mood. But here in the album reviews, Beaumont Hannett, you know, I think I point that out because I think a lot of people, when I talk about this music now, a lot of people are kind of like, how did you hear about this music? Like, wasn't it super underground? No, it wasn't. NME was reviewing it, you know. And this is my last magazine I'm going to show. I'm going to wrap it up because I've been going for over an hour. This is when the criminal justice bill was a thing. I think this was in 94, right? Yeah, October 94. A bunch of people had released some records to protest the criminal justice bill, or the repetitive beats bill, which, by the way, I think that passed after all these records and all this hoopla over it. I think the bill still passed. I don't know that it ever affected anything, but here you've got, what was his name? Is that Lowell? Lowell from Drum Club. This is a dude from Fundamental. I don't remember his name. This is Bobby Gillespie. This is Andy Weatherall, and this is Chris Needs. And they released those repetitive beats EPs. Basically, like Primal Scream, they did a cover of Know Your Rights by The Clash. Weatherall did a remix under the name Lords of a Ford with Hedger. Weatherall and Hedger were Lords of a Ford, and Weatherall and Hera were Blood Sugar. Right? Right? I don't remember. I think that was it. But a fun time. A fun time indeed. Jarvis Cocker reviews Pulp Fiction. See? God. NME was awesome. Loved this paper. It was just so entertaining. Here you go. And they talk about the criminal justice bill, and I love Andy Weatherall. If that isn't glaringly obvious by now, or by the state of my hair, I don't know what could be more clear. I will sacrifice looking like a complete dunce to verbally explain and illustrate why I love Andy Weatherall so much. So I hope you enjoyed this video of me ponderously sorting through magazine articles. I hope you enjoyed it. Andy Weatherall is dead. Long live Andy Weatherall.